I want to discuss in this video, which I called Foreclosure Gang Banging the Banks, I want to discuss how individual homeowners with mortgage grievances against their banks can get together and file a joint lawsuit against their various banks to try to stop the banks from foreclosing on the homeowners' mortgages. This procedure was designed by me as the best help available to homeowners in the non-judicial states where the banks do not go into court with a foreclosure action, but instead sell the mortgaged home without a lawsuit pursuant to a deed of trust or similar instrument. Those states include California, New Mexico, Nevada, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, many states have non-judicial foreclosures, more in fact than have judicial foreclosures. I want to discuss first the economics of foreclosure actions. Millions of foreclosure actions in states where they are required or sometimes permitted are commenced by a handful of banks, and in any small area, an even smaller number of law firms that do this for those banks. This gives the banks a tremendous economy of scale for their foreclosure actions. 50 foreclosure actions by the banks can be handled in one court, perhaps one courtroom, quite inexpensively by 2 or 3 attorneys. But the 50 homeowners will probably have 40 or more different attorneys at a much higher cost per homeowner than the bank is paying for that single foreclosure action. What is even worse, 97% of homeowners don't even bother to defend the foreclosure action. Another point, the bank has trillions of dollars, including most of your money and much of the government's money, leaving homeowners with very little to defend themselves in foreclosure actions. So something has to be done, and this is what it is. Let me talk first, before going on to the gangbanging, let me talk about the strategy in the states that require a foreclosure action. The judicial foreclosure states, such as New York, New Jersey, Florida, and various others, permit a homeowner to stay in the property without paying the mortgage for the duration of the foreclosure action, generally. There could be exceptions, and represents a way for homeowners to obtain value from their home even while they are losing it in foreclosure. Also, defending a foreclosure action sometimes makes the bank willing to give a reasonable modification agreement, which it was unwilling to do before the homeowner showed up with an attorney, so that there can be some value merely in defending a foreclosure action. But in states that have none, it's a little bit difficult unless we do something to create a foreclosure action, which is what I'm going to be telling you about. Let me tell you, there are problems in the non-judicial states, and these states, as I've said, California, Nevada, New Mexico, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, the bank forecloses without a court action. And remember, there are only 4 ways that you have to save your home. These are the 4. A modification agreement, which we've already said the bank isn't giving you, because why are you listening to this video unless the bank has refused to give you a desired modification agreement? Number 2, you can hire somebody from the mafia to break the kneecaps of the bank with a pipe. Now, of course, I'm joking, but that is one way of dealing with a problem. You break the kneecaps, but we don't know how, and we don't do it. So it's just a joke, but I'm putting that in as a second remedy. A third remedy is to file for bankruptcy, but that remedy is not the right remedy. It is one that often is rejected by the bankruptcy court for various technical reasons, and in any event, it should be considered and relied upon as a last resort normally. So don't even think bankruptcy. The only remedy available to you, from what I see, is a foreclosure action or judicial relief. But in the non-judicial states, the courts aren't giving you that relief, and that is why I've created this video, to tell you what we can do, how to gangbang the banks. So what I'm saying is that here is a group action strategy for homeowners in the non-judicial states. And I call this video, once again, foreclosure gang-banging the banks. And I think that that's an appropriate way to look at it, because the banks have been gang-banging the public for such a long time. It's time to do a reverse on that. So here are the steps as I see it. There's 7 steps in all, basically. One is obtain a low-cost or no-cost meeting place, such as a restaurant, bar, club, church, library, school, town hall, other place that you can have a meeting set up in advance and know that the place will be there to handle a group of people and you're not sure how many will show up. 2, call their local radio stations for the price they will charge in order for you to advertise locally at a cost of maybe $10 to $15 or $20 per 60-minute spot. A series of anywhere from 10 to 20, 25 advertisements telling people about the meeting, and they can come and have a free meeting. No cost to them. 3, run the advertising and put together a free meeting on how homeowners can bring their foreclosure problems into court with a question and answer period. If you have a sufficient number of people that you can put together, I'm available, even with an insufficient number, I might add. I'm available at least by phone call to talk with them, and I'm also available from time to time to go in person and talk with the group. So think of me in terms of being available to talk with the people and answer questions. 4, put together a group of 20 to 100 homeowners in a single declaratory judgment action against various banks that these homeowners are involved with, asserting the same claims in that action, really a declaratory judgment action, that are being asserted in the judicial foreclosure states as defenses and counterclaims. So that the same way you defend an action in a foreclosure state, you can bring an action and raise those issues and try to stop the foreclosure in the non-judicial states. The advantage is that you have a group of plaintiffs sharing the cost, a single lawyer, not many courts, not many judges, a single judge, a single courtroom, having maybe 20 to 100 plaintiffs, and having a whole group of banks at the same time, so that the banks will have to, instead of having the advantages that they normally have of a single lawsuit, a single law firm, and 40 lawyers on the other side, the banks will have to sit there and wade through 50 different lawsuits, possibly, in order to get to theirs, so that this shifts the advantage now to the plaintiff, and it's a very important advantage shifting. And 6, you file the lawsuit, and 7, most importantly, obtain publicity for this, because this is newsworthy. When a bank files a foreclosure action, it's not newsworthy. When a homeowner comes in and defends on occasion, that's not newsworthy. But when a group of 100 aggrieved homeowners in a non-judicial foreclosure state bring suit against the whole group of banks and all of the banks that are doing this, that is newsworthy, and that will bring attention to the problem and possibly be able to get the state legislature to adopt the foreclosure statute, and in any event, it'll give you a better chance to get a modification agreement than you had before going into this, because you can't get it, and this is a possibility of how you can get it. So anyway, if you have, as I see it, there's a much lower cost per homeowner, a much greater cost for the banks. Some banks may see the value of giving a modification agreement to get out of this costly lawsuit. Some owners may win the lottery, which means that we find out the bank doesn't have the original of the note or mortgage, and they may not be able to bring a lawsuit, and you may wind up owning the property or being able to clear title to it because no one has the note or mortgage. That's just a lottery. Don't count on it. Make an effort to show that the bank engages in various violations of law causing injury to the homeowners and entitling them to a reduction of interest and principal on their mortgages. The banks are really violating the securities laws, and those laws should be protecting the homeowners from what has been going on here. Then finally, it uses the lawsuit to push for a foreclosure statute in the state to require banks to use courts to foreclose, which gives the states an indirect way of stopping usury, because federal law does not allow states to control usury in homeowners and credit cards anymore as to federal institutions, but not allowing the institution to grab its money that quickly is another indirect way of controlling usury.